Hey Victor, how are you?
I'm good, good. And yourself, Jeff?
I'm doing pretty good. But thank you for joining me on Indispensable Appraisers podcast.
Thank you for having me here.
So, you know the question, what are we winning at in the valuation space? Are we doing anything good, great? What's going on?
Jeff, the reality is, yeah, like a week ago, you asked me, you told me that a couple questions that you might have for this podcast. And actually, at the first thought, I thought it was going to be an easy one. I probably have two or three things. I'll go, tell them in the podcast. But when I started putting some, time into it, I was like, why are we winning as an appraisers, and I think what I got into it, we're winning, but just because we're benefiting through other technologies that are happening around us, in the real estate overall broader market. And I don't think the appraiser are doing enough to kind of push it where I can feel comfortable and say, yes, we're winning. Yes, I mean, we have done some technology advantages, in the last couple of years. Good examples, Datacom, Valkyrie and the other kind of systems that has helped us to speed our process, and we have the benefit of now having, Google Earth being so advanced, search engines and all these kind of programs that are developing around us. And I think we need to do a better job of kind of using those technologies out there right now and using it more in our advantage and kind of creating our own, right? And I think overcoming all those, obstacles, I think it's going to be challenging. And well, I'll address it more in the, question where we could improve. But yeah, there's a couple areas we can. Again, another thing we're winning is, the globalization, right? Because now, I cannot imagine back in the day, 30 years, you can appraise all over the county, country or they're, outside the country or whatever, easy. You have to, go through a process. Now it's very easy to get information. So, and data and communicate. And I think that helps us to kind of expand our work, beyond all geography around us. And again, I see that's another win. So between those things and, there's again, not necessarily the appraiser industry, but you know, our industry overall, like there's more sectors now that, that are coming in that we can take advantage of us and we're winning in those sectors, renewable energy or, startups, new startup, now with the crypto thing. So we're winning in some cases, and I think we can win more. We just got to take advantage of the next steps that are coming in and kind of industries that are approaching and kind of be ahead of those.
Okay, and you mentioned, appraisers are not doing enough, pushing enough, and you
Mhm.
talked about technology, but in general, that kind of leads us into what are our greatest challenges? What are we struggling with the most?
I think one of the biggest thing is the speed and the turnaround. I think that's very important. We live in a society that, you want to order something, you want it the next day, buying stuff and that kind of turnaround, I think is what's, in my personal opinion, is killing us in a sense. And that's why they're trying to push for, all these programs to kind of automatic do valuations, automatic programs. Because yeah, I can see the reality where, I push a button and I get the value. And the reality, it takes more time. But however, how can appraisers take advantage of, get those turnarounds instead of 2 weeks this since 10 years ago or 11 years ago that I started, still the same turnaround, you understand? So it's like, how can we just do those, speed up those the appraisal process with all these technology that we have and kind of have it where it is be very competitive that any automatic system that comes in, they don't have a chance. So I think that's going to be, one of the greatest challenges. Uh, the other one is, kind of more transparency towards all the intended users. I think we've done a great job. I mean, 10 years ago, not a lot of people knew about appraisers, what we do. And I think, now that there's a lot of, podcasts like this and YouTube videos out there, people are starting to kind of understand, the whole process of what appraisers do are more interested. There's younger generation investing in real estate and they, kind of want to know, oh, okay, how did he come up to the value? I think we need to do a better job, kind of communicating that. I went to this event for the realtors of Pinellas. And I was surprised of all the questions they asked. They asked like simple questions like, can I have a copy if I pay for the appraisal? Can I request a change? Is that legal? I'm like, I thought this was like everybody knew it, but for us, it's very obvious, but not for the public. And I think we need to do a better job just communicating kind of that kind of information out there to, again, emphasize on that public trust that we have tried to emphasize for so long, that kind of stuff. And here's a topic that's a little bit, I'm 50-50, is the overwhelm of regulations, right? Some regulations will kind of always limit us, like for example, I know that, when a client requires you to inspect the property, if it's out of state now, this different economic model comes in place and how to make it feasible. And, if you have a trainee, how do you deal with that? All that kind of stuff that other professions may not have. They're more open, and they can do whatever kind of, they got the free to do, whatever they want or whatever they feel is the adequate way. We're kind of, here's your box and this is how you got to do it. So that's the only thing that I can see, a great challenge, especially they push more regulation with the bias stuff they've been, trying to push a couple of years. Again, there's challenges. I like challenges. It's just a matter of, improving them.
Yeah, and that's funny. You mentioned speed and turnaround time. Are you saying that to be competitive against AVMs and other alternatives, we need to be a lot faster?
Right. I 100%. And not only that, I mean, if also you got to take account the economics of fees, right? Since I started this, I feel fees haven't moved that much around. I mean, it's not like it's increased, CPI every year or something like that. Yes, we have more advantages of having more technology. That kind of the speed has remained the same 2 week, 1 week or kind of shorter, but not dramatically. And I think if the economic of fee have stayed the same, and I don't see it increasing, that much. I think the way that we can take advantage of that is just the turnaround to be, less. And again, in a fast moving globalization market that we are, if you're not moving fast, you're staying behind.
So what do you think for a typical commercial appraisal? What does it typically take? You're in the Tampa Bay market, right?
Right.
So what do you think a typical turnaround time is for, let's just say, a typical shopping center, 20,000 square feet, nothing crazy in your market? What's the typical time frame? Do you think most appraisers do now? What should it be?
Yeah, for us, we try to be competitive in that. I mean, we're a small shop, we don't have that brand name. So we try to be very competitive in our turnaround. And I think that's an advantage that I give to my clients, and we're looking at 7 to 10 business days. That's our kind of mark, that, and then, if the client needs a little bit less, or, hey, I'm flexible with a little bit more, we'll play from there, but we try to be 7-10 days. And I mean, I'll be surprised that, I mean, most of them will ask if it can be, faster. So you think about 7 days, between the inspection, I coordinate this, I got other stuff. It's not easy, but it's possible, But again, I think we're getting there where all the advantages are kind of aligning up with us. And I think I can see in a couple of years being possible to do, turnarounds of 3 to 5 business days for any commercial property. And I think that's where the future is going to be.
Well, appreciate that. And you want to highlight a little bit of your journey? Might be helpful for somebody to understand how to get into appraising, just where you started. You ended up doing your own thing. How'd you go from that to that?
Yeah, no, it's funny that you asked that. Yeah, I used to work on my university. I used to work at a part-time in a valet parking. So in this valet parking, I met another guy that worked there, and he was actually an accountant for part-time accounting for this appraisal firm. And I wanted to quit the valet, and I needed to move on. And then he's like, "Hey, there's people that do part-time. I think they make good money. I can see the numbers, but they don't do nothing. They just sit around the office all day." And I'm like, well, that seems like a great idea, let me, can you hook me up? And, we started talking, and I went to an interview and started working. Boy, was he wrong. It's a lot of work. It was, I didn't have this. I had a mentor, but it wasn't someone that took me through the steps, right? It wasn't. I was given a report, come back in 3 days, here's your first assignment, kind of thing. I was thrown to the wolves, without any backup, so any defense. So it was kind of funny, but something that struck me at the first couple of weeks, it was, the owner told me, Victor, if you want to be good at this job, you got to take the Appraisal Institute courses. Those are the best. Those are, top quality. All the good appraisers, all of them have those education. And I started researching. And then from there, I started taking courses, started doing in-presence ones, because I needed to meet more people in the industry, because I didn't know no one. That ended up me taking a course here in Tampa that I met Marty Engelman. And Marty Engelman was sitting next to me, and we started talking, and we got along great. After that, we'd had some lunch, and that was a year later. I was here working. That was in 2015. I worked with him, and then Franklin Street as an appraiser. Again, I did a lot of social events, kind of talking to everybody in the office. I felt comfortable. It gave me the, confidence to, do my own thing, where when I got my license, I'm like, you know what? I think I'm never going to be ready. I should just take a chance. I got a rented apartment, I have a car, and that's about it. What's the worst thing? I can just lose those two things. And I took a chance. I started calling up some private lenders, started doing some ads in Google. And that was in 2017. And now we're 2024 strong, and couldn't be more happy of my decision. I have a long ways to go. It's very hard as a young, appraiser, to achieve things in this industry, but it's not impossible. And I know I still have years ahead, and it takes time. I mean, a lot of younger appraisers that I meet, they think everything just turns on, in 1 year you can do your own things. It's like, it takes a lot of time as an appraiser, so many properties. It's so much different every, city. It's so much different that you learn every time, any circumstances, the landowner or the leases. And there's so many variables that it's so difficult to gain experience. And I think lenders know that. And when they see you young, it's very hard to convince someone, you understand, unless you show them, 10, 20 appraisals. It's like, no, look at all this stuff that I've done. And I think one advantage that I got was taking the MAI. And I think when I got the MAI, definitely things change. I remember, I don't know his name, a professor, I asked him if it was worth it, the MAI, and, all the money and the time that you put on it. And he's like, Victor, I'm going to put it this way. If there's a $25,000 assignment, if you're not MAI, you're not going to even have the opportunity of doing it. So that's the only thing I can tell you. It's not guaranteed that you're going to be the best, but it opens that door. So, and I knew that. So I knew that being young and having the MAI was going to be an advantage. So I needed to use that opportunity. I did the impossible, and it was in COVID. So I had all that stuff going on. I did not pass my first capstone, and I still went on and grabbed the, I said, I'm going to grab the book and going to go page by page and do this report. And that's what I did. I passed it, and I'm so happy that I had to take it twice. I was so happy. I see my first one, and I'm still embarrassed. It was great. So everything happens for a reason.
Yeah, yeah, Marty's a smart guy. So
super smart guy.
yeah, he's a smart guy. Yeah, I like what you said, that you're never going to be ready, and you just took a chance.
Mm-hmm. You're never going to be ready.
That's a great business plan, huh?
I mean, it happens in the appraisals too. Like, if you think about it, sometimes you take an assignment, you kind of know, but then you start getting all this information. You're like, oh, now you feel uncomfortable. You feel like the first time you drive, you feel like you're going to hit all the cars, you're like, and then you do it once, and then you're like, okay, I feel more comfortable. It's the same thing. I think it's the same thing. The first month, it was the worst. Like, oh, I don't have any, any words coming in, any bids. So you get all nervous, old stuff. But then you learn, like, those are the best moments, because the moments that you can actually do stuff for the company, and kind of, get my website ready, get my templates better. That time I use it in my advantage. So now I've learned that when I don't have any, it's kind of slowed down and not a lot of bids are coming in, I kind of enjoy it because then I can just, get the stuff done, the cleanup of the folders, get all the new documents that I need, any market data that I need to pull, do my blog or do something. So it's just a matter of how you see things,
Yeah, you're definitely right. When, appraisers tend to freak out when work gets slow. Then in one of my podcasts with Darren, she talked about that underbidding is really
Yeah,
just
I saw that. Yeah.
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 It really does hurt the industry. And I get the feeling of, oh, if the appraisal fee should be $3,500, maybe you should drop it a little bit, but don't just drop the floor and go to $1,800 because that's not sustainable. That's
Right.
not a good business model. But I love what you said about when times are slow, don't freak out, work on the business, sharpen your
Right.
saw, take the time to work on your website. How many appraisers do Google ads, do any marketing, any sales, working in the business? So I think a lot of appraisers like to do the product, make the appraisal, work in the business, but they don't work on the business that much.
100%, and go out there, meet other people. I mean, I think the networking appraisers think that networking, it doesn't benefit them, because, well, this is the bank that's gonna, give me the work. It doesn't matter. The bank is not gonna be there, but the bank is one small sector. We do 95% private sector stuff. So, it's out there. You just gotta expose yourself, expose your company, expose your name, and meeting other people, and it's a win-win. Win because first of all, you're going out of the office, doing something different. Second of all, you're meeting people in other industry that, might need your help that they didn't know they need you understand? You're explaining them, what you do and the kind of stuff. And people think appraisal only do, valuation of a real estate and assets values. It's like, no, we can give you scenarios, we can do you this. And they start learning and think about it, they'll call you, say, I need some consultation. Oh, I got a consultation fee, for having you picking up that information. So I think a lot of people, underestimate the potential of networking. So I always say to anybody, go out there, meet other appraisers. Appraisers are not competition. Appraisers, my biggest fee last year came from a referral from another appraiser.
Nice.
You understand? So I always tell that example to everyone. It's like, it's not because I can not do that much and all the property. If there's a complicated property, out of my area and I'm busy doing other stuff and I don't want to overwhelm no one, I'll take it to someone else, So that always going to be a possibility.
So last question, where do we go from here? If you were going to pick one thing that we could improve on, if you were the king of the profession, what would you like to Jefe, what would you want it to improve upon?
Two things. We need to bring more younger people because those are the people that are going to innovate and improve our profession. Talking about winning, we want to win more. We need to bring more brains to this industry. People that are willing to do different stuff and not the typical. And the established appraisers have to be open-minded to this new generation and kind of be flexible on them. You understand? Like, there's a new generation that likes other stuff. So try to be flexible with them so we can bring in all these new minds that might have ideas that change all of our industry. So I think that's a main thing that I have to say, and kind of, make the industry more mass appeal to that generation too, because we got this stigma of, being an all appraisal, being behind a computer all day and we don't do nothing. We don't go out and socialize. We don't do cool events. We have this kind of thing in our head for this generation that we need to change. We need to tell them, hey, look, there's people that make good money here. There's people that do a lot of cool stuff. This is a great industry to be in. And I love it. And I have a family. I have built everything around it, and it's possible. And I think it's going to get better and better, every year. So.
Awesome. Well, Victor, thank you for joining me on this Indispensable Appraisers podcast. And I think you're indispensable.
Thank you, Jeff. Thank you very much for having me here. And I'll talk to you soon.
All right, ciao.
Bye.